Hey everyone, this is Evgeny and I welcome you in the next episode about building our own MCP server with a beautiful name, KnowFlow. So what you're concentrating on today? Just to recap, last time we finished the plugin system, but we didn't load plugins dynamically. So our plan for today would be to first do this dynamically and second, create a real plugin that performs the searching in local file system. Let's rock! And just to refresh your memory, here we have the discover plugins function, and here this function is supposed to look through all the folders we have for plugins, and at the moment we have the single one, test docs. So the function supports to look through the folders and load plugins dynamically, and we didn't finish it last time. So what's happening here, we just hard coding. We know that there is a test doc plugin and we load in here. And this is the only one we're using currently. So our idea for today would be to extend this function and load the whole list on dynamic basis. I'm constantly saying this dynamic word, but this is what should happen here. So we are loading it from the folders. We have to first scan the folders. We have to check that the default import is here from index JavaScript, and we have to check that the plugin has correct structure. Just to recap how it looked like previously, it's our MCP inspector, and what we are doing, we can connect to our plugin system, and here we have the messages from logger. So we have registration for plugin test documentation is discovered successfully, finished, and our MCP server is up and running, and we can list the tools. We have the only tool at the moment, and this is the whole idea. And here we can define a search query like test and run the tool. And back we have instructions, and we do have two results, and these results are hard-coded from our test documentation tool. So at the end of this lesson, we will have a plugin that knows, that takes care of files in real file system and looks through them and provide you a real result based on your query. So that's the plan. So the first logical step, let's modify our discover plugins function, and just to double check that we are on the right track and we see all the plugin folders. So this step we are not going to load any plugins yet. The only reason we have this extension, we need to scan for the folders and enumerate all the plugins we found. So once we see the list, we are ready to continue with that. And this is how our function looks like now. So what's happening here, we have a plugins folder. We are just getting it from the plugins directory. And what's happening then, we grab it on the directories and we're interested in their names, and then we are skipping this kind of special folders for the current one and the root one, or the upper level one. And then at the end we have plugins dirs. We have a list of all the plugins, kind of this list of folders, but we know that every folder is a plugin in our system. And then what's happening next, we just write in their names, and it's kind of a discovery mechanism. So the expected behavior of that would be that on the runtime mode, we would see all the plugins. All right, so let's give it a try. And for doing that, I'm going back to MCP inspector. I rebuilt the plugin in the background already, so I'm disconnecting from it, cleaning up the logs and connecting again. And what we can see here? Look at that. We have discovered plugins, and then discovered plugin directories, and then we have the single plugin that was found, kind of, and scan completed and plugins loaded successfully. So at least we know that, okay, our schema works and we see all the folders and everything is fine, right? So what could be the next step? And I think this is about real plugin loading. And so what do we have here? We need to update our discover plugin function, and here's the same. We are scanning for list of folders, and for every folder we do the dynamically import and register our plugin. So we have a list of folders, and every folder we grab it and take the JavaScript index file, and then we perform the basic validation. So if plugin is here, we are importing the default import from the plugin, And here we're just checking that the object is here, and then the important properties of functions are there as well. So we should have ID, we should have name, description, and 2 methods is available in search. And if everything is okay, then we do register the plugin, and we put the messages, some messages in the log. And we do it very gradually, so if there is a problem for specific plugin, we just skip it and continue our process of automatic plugin discovery. Alright, well, I think it's time to test it again, just to grab the plugin. So this time, my expectation would be we don't have this plugin hard-coded already, but we are loading it dynamically from test docs. And for doing that, let's do the same thing here. I rebuild the plugin and the MCP server again in the background. I'm connected to it again. And take a look at that. We have discovering plugins. We have the registered plugin to test documentation. That's expected. And that's it. Practically the whole list is loaded successfully and our server is up and running. And if we list the tools, it's the same single tool here, search knowledge. And if I make a call here for, doesn't matter which query, you would see the result. And this is exactly the same result. We have 2 items there, and this is hard-coded from our test documentation. Alright, great, then seems our dynamic discovery mechanism is working, and it's time finally to create something real. But let's start from building an MVP of the plugin and just see how it works. So we need something, we need a real plugin that grabs that has configuration for a specific folder, and then it grabs all the files recursively in this folder and tries to apply the search query and find all the stack snippets from the files and propose that as a result back. So that would give the LLM or the model some context to making a decision on that. So let's give it a try, and let's start progressing in very small steps so we can see the progress and double check during the process that we are on the right way. And for that I created a folder, file system, and I put there definition of the new plugin. But if you take a look at that, so what's happening here, we have the ID, it's a file system, and the name is File System Search, and description as well. And just to recap, the file name and description is very important, crucial here, because we are providing that back to the model, so the model is aware of different sources of information. The model can insist on prioritizing some plugin or the others. And what do we have here as well? We have the is available. And here's an interesting concept, because we need to tell the plugin somehow what is the folder we are storing our files. And we define it as environment variable KnowFlow file system directory. And we do have this method is available, and this time it's a real one. So what's happening here? First, we are checking if this environment variable is not defined, that we are saying, okay, the plugin is not available at all. Otherwise, we are also checking if this folder defined in this variable exists, and if this exists and it's really a folder, and then we are returning true that plugin is ready for the work. Otherwise, we are saying no. There are no information for this plugin to really perform anything really useful. And then we have the search method, and as you can see, it's only stubbing here at the moment because this is our first time introducing the real plugin, and we want to really see that the discovery process is happening. And then at the end of the day, we have 2 plugins. So it still works if you define this KnowFlow as dir. It will work, but it will give you all the time the empty list. And again, let's give it a try. So I built it already in background as usual. I'm disconnected from the older version. I'm connecting to our MCP server again, and take a look at that. This time we have during discovery plugin phase, we found 2 plugins, and the file system search was found as well. And the rest practically would be the same, right? We never defined the file system folder. There is no output anyway, but we can trigger it here. We can type test again and run tool, and we can see the same 2 results, right, from our only kind of workable source of plugin with the name docs. So everything works well so far, right? And this time, let's try and implement an MVP solution for this file system plugin. So what would be our MVP and how we should do this? The idea is pretty simple. I created a docs folder, and this one contains kind of documents about technical discussion, architectural decisions, all this kind of stuff. And we do have some keywords here like API, for example. And this will be our folder to search in. And well, what should we do for MVP? We are probably just looking case insensitive through all of the text here. And if you find something, let's say we are searching for API, we are returning the single line that contains this keyword. So no further search here, no ranking, nothing, just as an MVP product. We want to return you some data back from this plugin. So we are grabbing this information here. And so since we have it, I need to configure it as well. And by doing so, I go to environment variable here in inspector. Here I have to add my environment variable thing, and this one is KnowFlow deal. So let me do this. And this is stored in docs folder. This one is relative to our project. All right. So what do we have here? Let's quickly recap it. The same is available as here, but now we have some changes in our search flow. So first, we're still checking if KnowFlow directory is here or query also should be defined. If not, then okay. There is no reason to do real search, which is return an empty result. And then we are performing case unrelated search. And what's happening there, we have the helper function, which collects all the files from the directory, and it performs it in a recursive way. And then what's happening, we are collecting all the files starting from the KnowFlow file system directory. And then we are trying to read line by lines for every file. And then we are just checking if a single line includes our query. Then we are grabbing the whole line as a content. We are filling in some metadata. So we are putting the file name as well. And we put in the source as a plugin and the date of the file when the file was created. And we are putting score as 1.0. like as a maximum, but this doesn't matter at all right at the moment. This is our MVP. And at the end, we are returning the results. Okay, it's time to test it. So let's give it a try. And the same kind of things. I'm disconnecting from the servers. I'm cleaning up the logs. I'm connecting to it again. And see here we have only file system plugin because I removed already the other plugin. We don't need it anymore since we have the real one. And we can list the tools again as the single tool again as previously, and we can do a query here. And let's search for API, which I mentioned already, and maybe it should show all the results. And I'm running the tool. And take a look at that. We have 1, 2, 3, how many? 5, 6 results, right? Including 0. And here we have the content, it's technical discussion, API versions, and here we have a reference to the file name, and the source is different now, and the last modified date is a real one, and score is to 1 as I showed you before. So it's kind of really working plugin that goes through all the files in the folder we set, and it looks for, like if you check it here, it looks for markdown files and txt files and tries to do the real search. But if you think about that, for example, if I do the search kind of, let's do it more real, right? If I provide a real search, it will not work for sure, right? Because, see, there are no results. But that's clear, right? Because this is our MVP and it searches only if you have this occurrence in a string, and this is not the case. And another problem I can see here, why we cannot use our MVP still. If you take a look at that, okay, snippets are really wrong one, because this is a title, and just below the title we have the content, and this is kind of the same piece of information, but we are showing this as two found items, right? And practically what we're going to work on next, we want to have a fuzzy search when you can type the real query, and then it will search through the files and find only those where at least partially it corresponds to the file. This is the first thing. Then we should do the proper ranking based on how your search query performs on a file, how it corresponds to the content of the file, and we will be working on the generating proper text snippet. So it provides a real value at the end, not a single line as now. But this is something we're going to look at in the next session. Alright, that was it for this video, and again I'm trying not to put a lot of information in a single one, so you're lost at the end, and we are trying to progress in very small valuable steps here. And what's done in this session? Okay, finally we introduced the Real plugin system, which discovers the plugins dynamically based on the real state. And we started working on our file system plugin, the real one that grabs the files from the folder you put into the environment variable and looks through the files markdown and txt and provides you some results. It's not working well as for now. It's kind of an MVP only, but we know, okay, we have the folder, the files were discovered, we do some real searching kind of, right? And we left everything else for the next video. We will try to improve our file system plugin. We will do the fuzzy search, we will do the proper snippet, text snippet, the information that was found, generation of the snippet, and we do a proper ranking to allow the model grab the more relevant results. So this is our plan for the next video, and stay tuned, and thank you for sticking with me in this video. And I see you next time. Bye bye.